Hello, YouTube. It is SKFC back here with another video, and it is another installment of our new series, Forgotten Stints. And today we're going to be talking about one Kevin De Bruyne, and we're going to be talking about mainly his loan season at Wolfsburg. Now, obviously, De Bruyne is mostly known for his time in Manchester City, where he is a multi-time Premier League winner, multi-time FA Cup winner, multi-time League Cup winner, as well as a Champions League winner. However, before he made that move to Manchester City, there was a reason they were going to spend 58 million pounds on him in 2015, and we're going to be taking a look at that today. So even just looking at the most superficial of stats, which would be the goal and assist, metric, what may not actually be known is that his time at Wolfsburg is technically the most amount of goals and assists he's ever had in a single season. So you can see here, he has 43 goals and assists in his one full season at Wolfsburg, whereas at City, he got 28, 27, 33, 16, 38, 8, 28, 33, and 38. But he never actually eclipsed, that 43 mark. So I think that's the first thing that would shock a lot of people because, obviously, like I said, he's mostly known for his time at City. So to be able to put up numbers like that in, as such a comparatively smaller club is impressive. And even when you look at kind of the breakdown of where he was getting his numbers from, I know the Europa League isn't the highest of standards compared to the Europa League, compared to the Champions League, but it's still a decent, level of football. And to be able to lead Wolfsburg to a, Europa League run while putting up these type of numbers, because I think he ended up playing teams like Napoli and Inter Milan in the Europa League as well. So to be able to put those type of numbers up just shows, how good he is. So in terms of like where he would like to play, the kind of zones of influence that he would have was a bit different than when he was at City, because at City, especially under Pep, he would more so stay around these half spaces. Half spaces kind of being the part of the field between the center of the pitch and the actual byline itself. So at City, he more so occupies these type of zones, especially the right side over here. While where he was at Wolfsburg, he actually occupied a lot more of the width. So it would typically be on either side. He really just depended on, I guess, whatever the coach wanted him to do in that game. At least from what the tape that I saw was that he would either kind of line up towards, even though he would be the 10 on paper, he would either play towards the left side wide or the right side wide a lot. And actually, a lot of his assists in the Bundesliga, especially, came from, crosses from kind of this angle over here. Same thing on this side. He would, always kind of look for that incisive pass going through this way, to get onto the end of it for his teammates to run onto. So it's very interesting to see kind of how his time at Wolfsburg differs from his time at City. All right, now we're gonna watch like a little bit of tape just to kind of go over some of what I've been talking about in theory, and I'm also gonna have a link to some these videos in the description so you guys can check it out for yourself. So one of the most underrated things about De Bruyne was kind of his ability to also be physical, especially at this point in his career. So as you can kind of see here, he kind of weaves past Thomas Mueller, and then look at the way he's able to hold off the player while still keeping control of the ball. And that was something that was very underrated about him, is kind of just his strength and ability to be physical, in conflict. So and something that you don't really associate with De Bruyne. And then here, I want you to note, where De Bruyne is. Again, playing in that wide space as opposed to the half space that he would be at City, because if he was at City, he would probably be around this area over here. So, again, he's playing in those wide areas. He's able to, point to where he wants the ball. He receives the pass over from his teammate. And again, I also want you to look at, again, being able to get physical with a defender, use his strength to nudge the defender out of the way. He probably like dives a little bit, and even though it's called for a foul, again, it shows his kind of his courage and willingness to get stuck in, as our British people would say. Again, if you look here for this assist that he's going to give to his teammate, again, note he's wide part of the box. He's able to do a little step over and is able to then, again, use his physicality to keep the defender, give it enough space to then whip in the pass and, ultimately assist his teammate. But I think the key part of that play is, again, the fact that he was able to use his physicality to create enough space to then get that actual pass off. And he had enough vision to anticipate his teammate being there to receive the cross. So, you're kind of combining the vision that we already know him with kind of that, physicality to create that space needed, for him to pull off passes. Just kind of just describe a little bit more of, his play style, because I don't have all the footage I need to just show it to you on tape. But, a lot of his strengths besides what I've listed, he still already kind of have the, long shot ability. There's plenty of examples to cite, like, his volley against Lille. I think he had another really good goal against Bayern. The other things too is, again, even besides the chance creation that was already, there with Kevin De Bruyne, he did a lot. He was a little bit more adventurous in terms of his dribbles, which could at times lead to him, dribbling into traffic, because he's not exactly the silkiest and smoothest of dribblers, because he was a bit stiff in the sense that, when he was surrounded by a lot of defenders, or he could, dribble into traffic at times, or, the defender was really on him, he didn't really have the, kind of speed of movement of like a Hazard or, like a Quaresma or something to like just get out of the defender's way in that sense. Which is fine, because what he did have is burst. So, whenever he's just ball carrying into open space and scanning the field for who to pass the ball to, that's kind of when you really see, the best of this version of KDB. Like I said, he utilizes a lot of crosses. He utilizes a lot of, set piece routines, as well as just, overall through balls on the counter. That's how he got a lot of his assists. So you're basically just looking at, a little bit more of a high tempo Man City De Bruyne with, added pace and power to boot. So, which is a scary, scary player, when you really think about it in that sense. And then lastly, we're just going to go over, his accolades for this season. So Wolfsburg in that 2014-15 season actually went on to finish second, which was the best points tally they had gotten since they had won the championship in 2008. And when Kevin De Bruyne ended up leaving, they proceeded to then finish 8th the next season, and then 16th in the next 2 seasons after that. So that really shows, the importance of Kevin De Bruyne and the impact he made while he was on this team. De Bruyne also ended up winning a DFB Pokal, in which they beat Dortmund 3-1, and he ultimately scored the second and ultimately the decisive goal in that match. And even in terms of individual accolades, so he ended up, making the Bundesliga Team of the Year for that season. He was also the Player of the Year over the likes of, Lewandowski or Marco Reus or Mario Götze. And he also made the Europa League Squad of the Season. And I think, honestly, probably his most underrated achievement was the fact that he ended up winning Belgian Sportsman of the Year and the Best Belgian Player Abroad in 2015, which is significant when you consider that 2015 was, one of Eden Hazard's best seasons at Chelsea. So for Kevin De Bruyne to win that over a peak Hazard, kind of just shows the standard of excellence that he had set that year. Ultimately, Kevin De Bruyne's time at Wolfsburg, while short, was incredibly underrated. Showed the world-class, was his first truly world-class season, was, what allowed him to break out from his failed stint at Chelsea, and it was what enabled him to become a legend at Manchester City. So I just really wanted to talk about such a forgotten stint in a, incredibly legendary career of, Kevin De Bruyne. And if you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, give me some players that you would think have forgotten stints that you'd want me to talk about. And most importantly of all, remember to have a good day.